This episode is sponsored by the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Rounding out October entertainment is Charlie Crockett on the 18th and Queensryche on the 19th. Plus, don't miss a minute of football season. Join us in the sportsbook with a tailgate party on October 27th. Visit HollywoodCasino.com to see how you can reserve your package. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Renowned painter Titus Kaphar writes and directs his first film, Exhibiting Forgiveness, which opens in movie theaters today. He joined me to discuss working with talented actors like Andre Holland and Andra Day, as well as his own journey as a painter with powerful works like Recontextualizing Thomas Jefferson and Behind the Myth of Benevolence. Hey Titus, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you, Jason. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Always better once you hop on the line. So we're talking to Titus Kaphar, the writer and directorial debut, actually, of Exhibiting Forgiveness. It opened at Sundance earlier this year, but we're talking today because it opens in movie theaters today. Well, you and I know what it's about, but let's tell our listeners, let's see, they're hopping on this podcast. They have no idea. Give them the basic premise real quick.
Yeah, Exhibiting Forgiveness is about an artist who is successful. He's on his path. And his estranged father comes in and kind of disrupts the flow right in the middle. And the film is ultimately about whether or not these two will come back together. The artist has created this life for himself with his wife and his kids. And the father's desire for reconciliation is not something that he's initially interested in. And so the question of the film is whether or not they will heal, whether or not they will come back together. Story of the film is one of generational healing. How do we separate ourselves from the trauma of the past in order to make sure that our children are better than we were?
And that's all we really want, right? Generational trauma, and to repair that and move on. Each successive generation should be better, both within our own families and society as a whole. I truly believe that. That's great. Well, tell me about casting Andre Holland as the main character, because, man, a lot of the notices and reviews you'll see are calling it his, quote, career performance. And that's high praise because he's been, doing a lot of stuff. Did you see him in that diner scene in Moonlight and be like, man, if I ever direct a movie one day, I'm going to cast that guy. He's unbelievable, man.
I've watched almost everything that Andre has done. I even found bootleg footage of him on stage. He is an exceptional actor, and the fact that he decided to take on this project just speaks to how extraordinary he is. He wasn't taking this project on because of, he was getting paid lots and lots of money. He took it on because he believed in the narrative and the story, and he committed himself to the process. I told him, I said, if you want to take this part, I need you to learn how to paint. And he said, let's do it. So for 3 months, he came to my studio, and I taught him how to paint. And when you see him in the film, you see him painting. They're my paintings. I finished them for sure. But you see him painting, and you feel very, very confident that he knows what he's doing because he actually does.
I love it, and we will tell our listeners, we'll get to this later in the interview, but you are a renowned contemporary painter yourself, so he was learning from the best, but we'll get to that in a minute. I want to keep talking to the cast really quick, because Andra Day is also in this thing, and man, needs no introduction, but just in case, for posterity, Oscar nominee is Billie Holiday, and a Grammy-winning musician, of course, famous with songs like I'll Rise Up. You're getting to work with her, as an actress, but also she contributes the song Bricks, right? Talk about, you get two for the price of one when you cast Andra.
You get way more than that. That she is such a special spirit. I think we see her on TV and, she's done up and everything. She's most comfortable in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, and her voice she opens her mouth and just like everybody stops. That's what happened on set day after day. She would just be sitting there and just working through lines and then start singing, and everyone would just stop. And I was like, Andrew, you got to stop doing that. We got work to do. Every time you open your mouth, people stop working. she is kind and she's generous. She's talented as an actor and a musician, and the song that she wrote for this film is absolutely perfect. She worked with Jared Bischoff, our composer, and every day we would shoot, and then at the end of the day, she would go to New York where her studio was, and she and Jared would begin to record. She wrote the song while on set and then recorded it in the evening. And because she was so in character, even as she was writing the song and recording the song, you just feel the intimacy of the words in the song. I'm kind of excited for people to actually hear it. It comes out tomorrow.
Awesome. I can't wait as well. It'll really help support the movie too. Double whammy. And of course, and then one more on the cast, like Andre Holland and Andrew Day, obviously they're accomplished, but relatively younger compared to surrounding them with John Earl Jelks, the Tony nominee from August Wilson's radio golf play, and Angelique Ellis-Taylor, Oscar nominee for King Richard, and gosh, Emmy nods for When They See Us and Lovecraft Country. I actually, by the way, shout out with her performance in Ava DuVernay's Origin. That was like one of the most underrated. I don't know how it didn't like sweep all the Oscars this past year. But anyway, was it nice to have veterans like John and Angelique Ellis-Taylor, the working with veteran actors? Did they kind of help you as a debut director having vets like that?
Yeah. I mean, we became very much a family on that set. Even before we started, when I called them and when we met up, we weren't really talking about the script. I was very confident that they knew how to deal with the script. They've been doing it for years. Janua has been doing it for a very long time. She's great at what she does. What am I going to tell her about acting? I'm not. What I want to know is who you are at your core. What motivates you? We talked about family. We talked about the churches we grew up in. We talked about our mothers. And so by the time we got on set, we trusted one another. And so we had a comfortable, safe set where folks felt like they could experiment, where they could push. And what happened was everyone gave their all. John Earl Jelks is definitely worth mentioning too. As you said, he was a stage actor, worked with August Wilson, but no one really knows him on the big screen. He's done a small project here or there. He's 65. Actually, I think he's 66 at this point. But he was not the one that, I'll just say Hollywood wanted us to choose. They were looking for somebody more famous. When I saw John's self-tape audition, it blew me away, and I immediately knew this is the guy that I want. And then I didn't think that I knew him, but it turned out that while he was doing radio golf, working with August Wilson, I was at Yale watching him perform that play.
Wow!
It turned out it was ultimately meant to be.
Absolutely. Nice little, full circle there. I love that. All right. Well, I know we're up against the clock, but I want to remind our listeners, let's say we have some movie fans that only really know the movies, but maybe they're not as familiar with your actual artwork, your painting, because you're a contemporary painter. You're a favorite of Oprah and Spike and Serena Williams. Like, everybody loves you, but I want you to tell our listeners, if you can, about the Vesper Project and Behind the Myth of Benevolence, because I was looking at these paintings, man, especially the Thomas Jefferson, peeling it back to show his slave Sally Hemings behind. Like, it's brilliant stuff, man. But remind them sort of how you recontextualize history a little bit.
I appreciate that question. Yeah, I mean, so with Behind the Myth of Benevolence, that painting started. I was having a conversation with this woman who I adore. She's in her 80s, and I usually go see her on Sundays. Now, I should say that we don't share any of the same political beliefs, but I adore her, and I love my conversations with her. And one of these conversations, because she taught American history, we started talking about Thomas Jefferson. I've done a lot of reading about Thomas Jefferson. I've worked on projects about Thomas Jefferson. And as we were having the conversation, she said, well, Thomas Jefferson is complicated, but he at least was a benevolent slave owner. And I said, I don't know what that means. I don't know what those words mean. I mean, there's no one who has written more eloquently about liberty in our country than Thomas Jefferson. That is for sure. And we wouldn't have our founding documents if it wasn't for Thomas Jefferson. That's for sure. And for that, he should be respected. But the idea that we would say that he is a benevolent slave owner just confounds me. And so I waited for her to answer me, and she didn't answer. I got up, I left her house and went to the studio. And I had just started making these paintings, and the painting that you're talking about, Behind the Myth of Benevolence, is what emerged.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for that work in recontextualizing history. You're right. It's a contradictory phrase that you're calling out there. But yeah, if everyone wants to see Titus Kaphar's, if you love his artwork, you want to see it translated onto the screen, check out Exhibiting Forgiveness, because you're with the cinematographer of Minari, and together, each frame of this movie is like a painting, So thank you so much.
Lachlan is extraordinary. Yeah, thanks for shouting him out, man. Thank you.
Yeah, still portraits dissolving into real actors. That's some Citizen Kane stuff, baby. Thanks, Titus.
Yes, love it.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.